Good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Finale, and this is Real Estate Talk TGIF episode 312. And it's been 308 weeks in a row. We're really coming up on that 6-year mark, which will be 312 in a row. 52 times 6 equals 312. That's how I figure it out. But we're really excited today. We have a person that I call friend that we met on social like a couple of years ago. You were on the broadcast once before. We had a great time before, and you know, you're the way you do your social media, the way you talk to people, the way you are straight to the point, and that resonates with me because I'm pretty blunt and say what I feel. And you know, some people say, "Well, Dave, maybe you shouldn't say that," and I say, "I don't care." Basically, that's really it. Shivani, thanks so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Good for you for doing this show for so long. You know, they say these shows or podcasts that it's so saturated, but it really isn't, because most people do 1 or 2 shows and then they never hear from them again. So the people committed and showing up every single week, it takes a lot. It takes dedication. It's a lot of effort.
Yeah, thank you. It turns out to be fun for me as I go through it, and you know, what I like about it mostly is their conversations. You know, I can interview you and ask you questions. But hell, I got an opinion too. And honestly, one of the reasons I do this is because I need information. I need help. So I ask questions to help me. And everybody I have on, from you name it, whoever it is, whether it's a local real estate agent to, which I have a lot of those on, to, you know, national people such as yourself and Chet Black, you know, it just adds to what we do. So here we are. It's Real Estate Talk TGIF episode 312. Nelson, hit the video. Real estate agents, are you looking to acquire clients consistently to grow your business and income for a great lifestyle? Well, this is Dave Finale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and the Modern Agent team. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Here we are. As I said, this is Real Estate Talk TGIF episode 312, and we're with Shivani Peterson, who is a loan officer with All Western Mortgage. You know, your most important thing about you is to help as many people as you possibly can. And you hear that a lot, but I actually see you doing it. And you want to help people make better decisions all the time. You're the founder and coach of Mind Over Markets, which, as I look at it, is an introspective course that builds interpersonal skills while boosting sales, confidence, and developing personal marketing strategies. You know what? We're going to talk about a lot of different things today, and we're going to go deep on, you know, the health and mental health of people in our industry. But I have 2 questions for you before we get into that. One is, I ask everybody this every week, and the question is, will you get it right? And the question is, what does TGIF stand for?
Thank God it's Friday.
You're so close. You know what? You're so close. And I don't want you to feel bad that you didn't get it correct.
This is so bad. This is my 2nd time, and I know it was a trick question, and I can't remember.
It's okay. Thank God it's finale. It's not a trick question, Shivani. Come on. Anyway, so here we are. I want to get started, but I want people to know a little bit about your background, where you came from, where you started. You know, we all know that, you know, your mom and that stuff. Please talk about that. Please talk about your you know, the trials and tribulations of where you came from and stuff. I mean, it's a great story. It's great, and everybody will feel that they're not alone. So just hit us with that, please.
Yeah. So I've been in real estate for 11 years now, which I know is really hard for everyone to understand because I appear to be about 24.
Exactly.
So don't try to do the math on that. But I grew up here in Reno. I've lived here my whole life. Reno's a really small, like, good old boys town, and it started to grow, but it's been the same people running this town. And in every industry, it's been the same hitters that have dominated until they retire, and then their kids dominate. And so making a name for myself and in making a brand, I really had to figure out a different way to do it, because I'm competing with some of the biggest names in the country here in my market. I have 2 older brothers who brought me into the industry. And since I've been little, I've always felt like I have this like burning desire for people to take me seriously, right?
Right.
You get into an industry as saturated as ours, where we're as commoditized as loan officers can be. And I thought, shit, I'm so competitive I don't know if I even want to play this game because am I even set up to win? Is there even a possibility of winning? And so I had to like get really introspective with myself and who I am and who I want to be and realize that it's okay to do it my way. No one else is going to do it my way, and doing it my way is eventually going to be my brand.
Right.
And that was pretty pivotal for me in my career because there's the being a loan officer, there's being a woman, there's being a working mom, and there are all of these generalizations and stereotypes about how you have to do any one of those things. And all of them set you up to feel defeated. And so I started feeling like that, and then I just decided I'm going to play a different game. A game that's actually possible to win.
Actually possible to win. I like that. I like that. So doing things differently and doing it your way, right? So you because of the differences is something I can really relate to. Just because I'm different, right? And I'm the youngest of 8 kids, and my brother says to me, one of my brothers says to me, he says, you got the weird gene. Nobody else has what you got, right? Because nobody being the youngest of 8 kids,
You got to be weird to be noticed when you're the youngest. Your parents are tired. Everybody else is taking up a lot of space. No one's
right.
going to know who you are if you don't do something strange.
So, so I decided that I had to, say what I feel, do what I say, and just be out there and get out there more. So, I am a little more, let's call it abrupt than others. I am a lot more blunt than others. I run a boot camp for my real estate team, and I don't pull any punches. I say what I feel. If they're not doing the work, I tell them. If they want to use excuses, I tell them. I mean, that's the difference between myself and everybody else. It's just different what I do, and it's different over here. Talk to me about, getting into the business and how you've been able to build your own brand. What were the things you did, and how do we move forward? How did you move forward from there to where you are today?
So I got into the during the HA Streamline refinance boom. So when I first got in, it was very similar to what many of us just experienced in 2020 to 2022, where money just felt like it was raining from the sky. Like you just had to call the people fast enough. It made
Right.
sense for everyone to refinance. And with the FHA Streamline refinance, it was like a no-brainer because they didn't have to pay for an appraisal. You just rolled them through and they dropped their interest rate. They saved a couple $100s a month. They might have gotten a little bit of money back or at least gotten to skip 2 mortgage payments. So there was no challenge to it. It was just how hard are you willing to work? And it's not that working that way isn't commendable because there's a lot of people who aren't willing to do the time either. There's a lot
Right.
of people who aren't willing to just basically work hard. So they don't even make the money when it's raining from the sky. But it's difficult to start during one of those times where as long as you're willing to put in the work, you will succeed because that's not really the way a career in real estate works. It's much more complex than that. And so then interest rates went up 2 points in 2 weeks. And I found out that I really wasn't that great of a loan officer, that the market was just great. And so then I started having to build a network. And I did it the traditional way that everybody tells us to do as loan officers and realtors, pick up the phone, knock on doors, just have a really thick skin. Your capacities to succeed is not really rocket science. The best coaches will tell you that it doesn't take a genius to be a successful loan officer, to be a top producer, to do 100 million a year. You just have to follow the system. You just have to make the calls, set the meetings, show up for them, work people through that system, and you will succeed. It does not require any uniqueness. And so I did it, and then I became a top producer, and it just wasn't fulfilling. Like I felt like there's nothing about me that's making me successful. I'm just following a system, and that's not filling my cup. I used to think a lot about this quote I saw on the back of a Starbucks cup. Do you remember when Starbucks cups used to have the quotes on them?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it said, success is a dangerous thing because the mix of money and praise will lock you in forever. And that's what I felt like. I kind of felt like a fraud as a loan officer. Like I was doing really well. I'm making a lot of money. I'm getting a lot of accolades. But like, am I really succeeding at my life's mission? And then this coincides with having kids. And everything changes when you have kids simply because the value of your time shifts. So you no longer or at least me, I shouldn't speak on behalf of everyone because every woman has a different feeling about this and every one of their feelings is legit. But for me, the value of my time shifted in a way that I didn't want to get shit on all the time. I didn't want realtors. I didn't want to be their meal ticket anymore. I didn't want to go to a networking event after work. I wanted to go home to my kids. I didn't want to call people who didn't want to hear from me and hang up on me. Nothing makes you regret your college degree faster than calling Zillow leads. Like every time I would get up from my desk to try to go pee, I'd get one of those emails that says the faster you call, the faster you follow up, the more you deserve to be alive. And so I'd sit my ass back down and call them and they'd hang up on me and I'd be like, what am I doing with my life? So when I had kids, the mix of having felt like a fraud in doing my business this way and then the value of my time shifting created a really like big changing point for me where I realized I had to do things differently.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you're doing things differently. You're using social, right? Using social media a lot, and you're building a business. Um, Everything you're talking about has to do with what's working for you, right? With what's working for you individually, rather than your changes, if I'm correct, your changes had everything to do with how you wanted to do shit rather than, doing it the way everybody said. But the important part that everybody should note really is that you did it that way first and you built your business and said, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do it this way. There's a lot of team leaders out there that, and agents that get to a point where, they're doing their business, they're doing really, really well. And then I heard someone say that a really top agent in the state of New Jersey say, I don't want to do this shit anymore, but I've just got to keep doing it. I don't want to sell another house. I don't want to walk through another house. He's one of the top agents in the state. He says, but I still keep doing it where I'm only 44 now, he goes. And he says, I'm almost there to that point where I'm setting all my systems and processes up. I mean, I know a guy that works out of Chicago that does 25 million in production in New Jersey because of how he's got his system set up, right? And that's the important part, and that's what you set up. So
I think what you're saying is really valid because right now we have this we're at this shifting point in our business. I think we can all feel in the industry that something is shifting in a really big way.
Yep.
And I was at a mastermind event. I'm in my brother's mastermind, the Forward Mastermind, and he had Kevion, who's a huge agent in LA, come speak to us. And Kevion does millions, and he still door knocks every single day. Every morning, he walks his happy ass around the nicest neighborhoods in LA and door knocks. And so he told us all about his little history, and how he built his business that way, got really heavy into social, started having some success with social, and then got to a point where he realized social isn't going to be enough. I've got to do both. I've got to be really good at both. And so now he's doing both. And then he saw like exponential skyrocketing growth. And so a lot of people will ask me all the time, they're like, well, your brand is such a big deal, right? But like you still do some of the traditional stuff. And so when I'm saying that something changed in my business, I don't mean that I stopped doing any of the relationship building or prospecting that's vital to our businesses. I mean that I figured out why I deserve to be in this industry. I figured out why someone would be better if they worked with me. And then I got louder about it. And so that's where social came in. But social really wasn't the pivotal moment or the defining difference in my business. It was figuring out why I do this and what about it fulfills me and why I could be fired up about selling real estate.
So two really important things that you're talking about here. One is the true market challenge, the true market shifts that we're seeing. Now we're seeing in the real estate industry today, we're looking at, I believe, two major shifts. One is structurally as far as how we're going to do business moving forward because of a lot of, I'm going to say bullshit that happened over the last year. And then the market, I don't think we're ever going to see real markets like we saw over the past 30, 40 years. For me, my opinion is really simple, is I don't think we saw a normal market in real estate since September 10th, 2001. We all know what happened September 11th. So that was the last part of normalcy that we ever saw. And we've had all these different market shifts because of all the different outer things that happened. So we've got that. And there's never been any conversation about you know, what makes you mentally sound? What makes you sound for all these? And we've got that shift that I'm talking about with the NAR crap as well as, you know, the market challenges. How do you put that all together and stay sane?
It's a good question because I think like if we're all being honest and we have a lot of friends in our industry, right? We talk to other industry experts all the time. I think we're all noticing that people are not doing well mentally. People are really struggling. And to me, it's something important to keep in mind, right? Because it's not just in our industry. Overall, mental health is in a really tough spot throughout our entire country and a lot of other countries too. So when I have a borrower who's snappy with me or who loses their shit, I'm constantly reminding myself like people are not doing well mentally right now. So keep that in mind at all times. But when we get specific to our industry, you know, a lot of people thought that what was happening in 2020 and 2021 was going to happen forever, right? So they really enjoyed making all that money. And I don't blame them. I get it. But this is another reason I truly believe in real estate investing. When I was making a lot of money in 2020 and 2021, more money than I ever thought was possible, I bought a lot of real estate and I created generational wealth for my family. And then in 2023, when things felt tighter, when I felt poor, I realized a lot of other people spent their money on dumb shit. And at least I invested my money and locked it up somewhere where I couldn't spend it on dumb shit. I spent it somewhere that's going to create wealth in the future for myself and for my kids. And then you come out of that, right? Where people are feeling either that they didn't rise to the occasion in 2020 and 2021, and they missed the opportunity to create generational wealth for their family, or they're mad at themselves because they had the opportunity and they blew it up. They made the money. They rose to the occasion and made the money, but then they blew it up. So people are already feeling a certain kind of way. And then they head into the most difficult market we've seen since 2008.
Yep.
Beating themselves up. The whole time we're in this difficult market, everyone, all the industry experts are being paid to tell us whatever it takes to make us not want to jump out our office window. So they're promising us that everything's going to turn around on May 10th, or that rate cuts are around the corner, or whatever way we need to spin the news that, you know, right, the employment numbers are off because of 1% of illegal immigrants that are in the workforce, whatever they have to tell us to make us believe that a recession is coming and interest rates are going to get better and real estate's going to be everyone's saving grace. But the problem is they keep being wrong, right? Because it's not their fault. Nobody could predict what's going to happen in this market because we've never been here before. We've never economically been in the place we're in now, where the Fed stimulated the economy for well over a decade, way beyond. Like, let's go way further past the pandemic and the stimulus checks. We have an entire generation of millennials who have never operated in a free marketplace. We've always been in an economy that's been stimulated by the government. And so now we're in uncharted waters. And so no one can give realtors and loan officers advice about what's going to happen so that we could tell our clients, right? And so then we feel bad because we tell our clients something that the experts told us, and then the opposite happens. And that carries on for now. We're going on 18 months of not knowing what's coming next. And so people are freaking the fuck out. They don't know how they're going to feed their families. They don't know how to plan a business for this kind of market. They don't know how to carry themselves. They don't know how to keep feeding themselves whatever pep talk they need every morning to get through today. Every deal is so hard to put together. Then you sprinkle on volatile interest rates. You sprinkle on an inventory crisis. Oh, let's pour on an affordability crisis. And then let's have the media tell everybody that we're the worst people on the face of the earth as they talk about this lawsuit.
Okay, so I think you hit everything. I'm feeling kind of shitty about myself right now. I'm not kidding. You know, I mean, you're right. I mean, I just want to hit the media thing because I think that I think people say, well, they're just not current. No, they're just, look, I haven't watched the news or read a newspaper in a very, very long time. And I know why is because after this NARS thing broke, I was in Florida, and I was at somebody's home, and they had the news on in the morning, and I heard this breaking news about, you know, realtors not getting paid anymore and not have to pay commissions anymore. And I look at the people I'm with, and goes, Dave, is that true? I said, no, none of it is true. It's all bullshit, right? And and then okay, so now we've got to go through it.
But
And
we're part of the problem with that.
we always have been.
Because every realtor went completely unhinged on their social media
Right.
talking about the NAR lawsuit. And even celebrities, right, from some of our favorite shows are being interviewed and saying like, who's going to tell me what I'm going to make? Who's going to tell me what you pay me? This is a free marketplace, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait a second. What are you in this business for? If it's for the commission checks, I think you're coming up on a really hard time. I
Absolutely.
think you may not survive this market. This might be when you retire. But if you are in this to help people build wealth, if you know that real estate investing will change the trajectory of someone's life, then what you're wanting to talk about coming out of all this is what the consumer needs to hear. You're trying to help them. You're trying to be a source of calm. You're trying to help them avoid the noise and the nonsense and be unnecessarily stressed out. So you're telling your ideal client what they need to make of this news. I just saw very few people doing that. Most people were defending their worth and defending their right to be alive.
No,
That doesn't help the consumer, guys.
no, I mean, it's first of all, okay, like you said, we talked the other day, right? And what's number one, what's the right reason for you to be in this business, and what's the real reason you are in this business? I don't know if they're two different things. If they are, we got an issue. One of the things that people don't get in real estate agents when they're making, let's make them cold calls or warm calls or whatever they're doing, I mean, look, if I work with real estate agents every day. And one of the things I have trouble getting them to change is their tone and how they sound. And they don't sound like that in normal life. All of a sudden they get a real estate license and they turn into a used car salesman doing a TV commercial. But that's not what we should be doing. What we should be doing is saying, okay, how do I come from a point of support and reason to help people, let them be comfortable talking to me so I can help them really get to where they want if they truly want to get there. You know what I mean?
There's 3 specific things you can do.
Go ahead.
Like 3 tactical things you can do to not sound like a used car salesman.
Go.
It'll take me a little bit, but I'm going to get through all 3 of them. Okay. Stay with me.
Please.
So the first one, we touched on it already. Why are you doing this? Why are you selling real estate? There's these probiotics that came out, and I have had stomach aches since I was like 5 years old. Horrible stomach aches, to the point that I had all kinds of scans, tests done. The doctors made my parents feel like shit because they're like, it just must be your divorce. It's nerves that are fucking up her stomach. Like so I live like this until I'm in college. Horrible stomach aches. Every time I'd get one, I'd be out for a full day. It's debilitating. Then doctors put you on like probiotics, the super expensive ones you have to buy from the fridge in Whole Foods. Doesn't make a difference. One day I'm listening to a podcast with the Skinny Confidential, and she's talking about probiotics and how the majority of them don't work because they don't survive. The capsule they come in does not survive your stomach acid to make it to your intestines. And she recommends a brand that does, that has a special capsule. It's been patented and it will survive your stomach acid to make it to your intestines. I take this and it changes my life. So then I put my husband on it, and all of a sudden he's a nicer person. His mood improves. I put my kids on it and they start getting sick less. When I talk to people about these Silver Fern probiotics, they're like, where's the link? Where do I buy? Is this a pyramid scheme? Like, are you making money on this? Like, why are you selling it to me like this? Because I believe in it. It changed my life. When I sell real estate to people, that's how I talk, because I believe in this. It changed my life.
Right.
I have seen over the past 11 years, countless people's lives change by buying their first home, and the entire trajectory of the rest of their life be different. Then I've seen people start getting into real estate investing and shit blows up. So when I talk about this, when people ask me, should I buy a home? I don't have a cover your ass response. I am very passionate about what I sell. And that makes me more authentic, right? If you can't get yourself that hyped up about selling real estate, find something else to sell that you are that hyped up about. And then the second thing I think you need to do is find outside sources of information. Go outside our industry. Look and read the news from other economists, from people, from financial advisors. Read what they're being told. Look outside our industry for guidance on what's happening with the economy, for different opinions about real estate. You don't have to do it You don't have to believe the opinion. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to say it the way they say it, but it will help you formulate your own opinions. When you go outside our industry and have conversations with very, very smart people, when you read the opinions of other people who are very well informed on the economy, and then stop and ask yourself, this is the important part. Do I agree with this? Is this advice I'd give my client? And then the third thing is show up. Be intentional right now. This is survival of the fittest, guys. This is war that we are in right now. To hold our place in this market, to continue our career, to be relevant. You don't show up for war out of shape with a bad attitude. You get really intentional. You do whatever it takes to protect your mental health, and you show up every day ready to fight in war, because 100% that's where we're at right now. We don't know how much longer the market stays like this, but I do know that it is hard. That is not fake. You are not weak when you admit that. It is hard. So if you admit it and you accept it, then you can prepare yourself to deal with it.
So I mean, look, it's why are you doing it? Be passionate about it. I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, that's one of the things I mentioned what I do and how I do it earlier about working with different agents. I'm passionate about helping them. I mean, I wake up every day. I try to say to myself every day, who am I going to help today? Who can I help, build their lives a little bit better today? And that's why I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about everything I do. I mean, the way I talk about it, the way I do it. I mean, shit, would I be here for 308 weeks in a row if I wasn't passionate about something I do? And that's really important. I mean, it's so important. You see a lot of people going through life. It's like, oh, well, I couldn't do that today because, I mean, it's in their voice, right? Now the outside sources of info, I find that very interesting. We're not talking, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're not talking about the news. You're talking about people talking about what's going on in our industry and to see if you actually agree with them to use those same opinions. Is that correct?
So your algorithm on your socials is going to get really smart, and it's going to show you only real estate people.
Right.
And then that's when you know that it's all fucked up. You got to change it. You got to change it to show you other people's opinions. And so it does include the news. Like, I really like reading Bloomberg and The Economist.
Okay.
It's interesting. It gives me really relevant insights into what's happening in the real estate market. I think a lot of people are relying on a morning update, and that's it every day for their news on how the market's moving today. And you got to look outside of that, because there's so much more happening, and it's all connected. What's happening with the stock market is going to impact us. What lawmakers are voting on, what policies they're putting into place, this matters to us. People will think, oh, I only care about the Fed funds rate. No, you should really care about the Fed's balance sheet and what they're going to do with it. So if you can broaden your horizons, like you said, Dave, to talking to other people outside the industry and deciding if you agree with it, to reading news sources outside of this industry, to having conversations with people who have a different opinion than you, it is going to change the advice you give your clients. It's going to help so that when someone asks you, how's the market, you don't have some stupid salesy response of, oh, it's great. Oh, it's heating up. Oh, it's terrible. Just say it's interesting and launch into whatever you learned this week.
I think above all else, even with that, I mean, like you said, oh, how's the market? That's the question that most people are getting. Or when's it going to crash? Like that's the latest one, right?
And we used to get so sick of being asked it, right? Like it'd be like, oh, fuck, I don't want to tell you how's the market. Can I just have my drink in peace? But when you start educating yourself on this stuff and talking to other people, you'll be excited to answer that question, because I love it. I'll say it's really interesting right now. We're trying to figure out a couple different moving dynamics.
Yeah, I love that question now, because it's like I want to see how I can throw my passion into my response that has some intelligence behind it. It's like, that's to me, that's the fun part when I get that question. And a lot of times I have to look at who's asking me the question. Is it a friend of mine? Is it a family member? Because I want to hit them even harder, because they're going to be more critical of me than anybody else. So it makes it fun, and it's good practice for me.
Well, I think it's also because you really believe in what you do, Dave. And if you really care about the person who's asking the question, it's more important to you that they understand the value.
Yeah. And what you just said and what I said, I want everybody who listens to this, listen to that now and will listen to this in recording, to go back 30 seconds and listen to what we said. It's important to be passionate about what you're saying. And when you're talking to people other than your family or your friends, talk that passionate way that you would talk to your family and your friends, because that really means that you really care about what you're talking about. And you really got coming from the soul, I like to call it, from in here. Because let's face it, on another note, when you're making those cold calls, those warm calls, whatever it is, you've got that anxiety feeling right in here. And I don't care how long you've been in the business, you're going to get it sometime, some way. But when you come from a position of making it easier for them to talk to you rather than, you want to get your point across, because they don't give a shit about you, by the way. When you're passionate about helping people, it's so easy to do it, right? It really is. Just, I learned from so many different people. And I learned something so important. I've been using it for about 4 weeks. I learned from an agent, a brand new agent in this business, says, I'm just trying to make it comfortable for the people I'm calling to talk to me.
Yeah, that's huge.
I said, holy shit. That's kind of what we all do, but that puts everything in a nutshell of how we're supposed to talk to people.
Create a safe space where they could tell you what they're really concerned about.
Exactly. Look, people are still going to hang up. I need to tell you, go fuck yourself, whatever it is. I mean, it's going to happen. We know that, right? But the thing is that that's what it is. So, and you put it one way the other day, is it's the long game of helping, right? And it's so important. What should the belief system be of a loan officer, of a real estate agent, in order to get this in? Is it belief in themselves? Is it belief in what they're doing? Or is it a combination of the two?
I think it's a belief that there's opportunity in every market. In every single market, there is an opportunity, there is an ability to help people win. Because I think if we get really, really down on ourselves when we start to believe that it's a bad time to buy or sell real estate. But the truth is, there is always an opportunity to be had. And some markets are going to mean that we have a smaller demographic of people where the opportunity fits them, where the opportunity is appropriate for them. But that's okay because we're playing a long game, right?
Yep.
So we want to always be looking, literally searching frantically for opportunity in every market to tell people about it. You want to be the opportunity creator for people.
And if you're doing things from a passionate standpoint and having knowledge and increasing your knowledge and just being out there amongst the industry, you're going to create those opportunities for yourself as you move forward. I mean, it's funny we talk about the right time to buy, the right time to sell. I just wrote a bunch of video scripts that I'll be recording this weekend, and it had to do with, is it the right time to sell? When is the right time to buy? And those are questions that people will ask. And of course, I throw bullshit at it and say, well, if you talk to an agent that says, of course, it's the right time to buy. Because anytime you ask them whether it's a Tuesday, March, April, September, they're going to say, yes, it's the right time to buy. That's a bullshit answer. And most people are going to see that. But the point is when is the right time to buy? Then you got to make it easy for them to talk to you and find out what their reasons are, or to sell, what their reasons are, right? And that's the important part. And that's getting, excuse me for the word, soulful with what you're doing, where it's coming from here, not from here or here. That's the wallet, by the way. So that's really important.
I think that we really have to educate our clients, because a lot of times we feel scared about telling them when it's the right time to buy or sell, because you and I, Dave, we don't have a crystal ball. So if we feel like this market is hard to predict, imagine how the newer agent or newer loan officer feels about this market. They feel overwhelmed, and that's real, right? I'm glad you feel overwhelmed, because that means you're taking your job seriously.
Exactly.
I work really hard to provide my clients with a lot of transparency and a lot of education. Yes, it takes more time, but that's okay. I'm okay with putting more time into every single client, into every single family that we help. It's not a numbers game for me. And when I offer them that kind of transparency, then they start to have their own opinions. You educate them enough that they can be in the driver's seat without killing anyone or blowing up their own life. And then you find out, oh, look, they have some insights on this now. They have some opinions on this now. Maybe they can now decide if it's the right time for them to buy or sell. But as I mentioned earlier, I'm never going to be a cover your ass real estate advisor. So I'm always ready when they say, what do you think I should do? And I don't think enough of us stop before a meeting with a client and prepare ourselves to answer that question. So when I call a client and I'm doing the initial consult, I'm prepared to tell them what I think they should do. When I pre-approve them and I show them different loan options, I want to put them in the driver's seat. I want to give them all the education so they can choose what's right for them confidently. But when they ask me, what would you do? I have thought about it before that conversation. I am ready to tell them what I think they should do. When they're making an offer on a house and the negotiations are going back and forth, if they ask me what I think that they should do, I'm never going to be the kind of person who says, listen, I can't make this decision for you. We all know that. No need to state the obvious. Tell them what you think they should do. You're the expert.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And the way we look at it is, no, we're taught we can't do that. But honestly, you're going to give them the opinion by giving them the facts anyway. So,
Well, and you're taught, you guys, I understand in real estate school, they teach you guys a lot of things.
Yep.
They also teach you to have your client's best interests at heart. And I think that telling them what you would do if you were them is fair.
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, a lot of people, they hesitate. Either they're going to tell them what to do and they might do it. Look, there's a lot of different people out there. And with everything that's going on, one of the things you've talked about it, and that's part of what your value is. I mean, we've heard that word so much over the past few months since this suit came out that now buyer's agent's going to have to show your value. What does that mean? So, well, I've sold this many houses and I sold that house last week. Nobody really gives a shit. It's how you're going to approach and how you care about the person. And that goes into, this is what I think you should do. And being blazing about it and just saying, look, I'm going to help you and I'm going to help you make this decision. If you ask me for advice, I'm going to tell you what I think. And here's where we start doing that. And then you give them an example of it. Show them the roadmap of what they're going to do day to day. Show them real value. All right. Buyer agents, basically, people that work with buyers mostly have to stop being doormen, door people, because that's basically what you've been. And when you got that lead and you were able to get that appointment, hey, you know what? Yes, there's a lot of work involved, but anybody can do that work. What kind of value you're showing? You know what I mean by that?
Yeah. When you have an agent, a buyer's agent, right, who shows you around a house and they just, like you said, they're just a doorman. There's a distinct difference than the agent who shows me around the house and then makes me sell them the house, because psychologically they're helping me work through some decisions in my head. And then when we go to make an offer, they're working with me to unpack, how much does this house mean to you? How will you feel if you lose it over $5,000? When they're doing some kind of psychology with me to help me decipher how far I'm willing to go with this. Then when they get on the other side, they're actually negotiating. They're working to put together the best deal for me, not the deal that gets both them and the other agent a commission check. They're going to bat. They're educating me. They're proactive the whole time. They're navigating inspections. They're navigating the negotiations that come later. They're bringing value to the table, right? The most important part of all of that is they're lending me their experience. As a buyer, I haven't gone through as many houses as them. I haven't negotiated as many escrows as them. I haven't done as many closings as them. And there's a lot of agents who have all those closings, but they're lending zero experience to the client. The agents that are willing to take everything they've learned and lend that experience to me so that this can actually not be the second house I've bought, but the 300th house I've bought, I can go through the transaction in that way. I'm willing to pay them. Wouldn't you be?
Hell yeah. I mean, look, it's you've got to, it's like a couple of lines that you can use, and they're not lines, but it comes from the heart. It says, what I know is this. So use your knowledge, use your experience, right? And then also in the same way, in the same manner, in the same time frame, what I know is this, and also discuss what you've learned from different transactions that you've gone through. Give your experiences, and what's that called? That's called stories. So, I mean, I tell most of everything I do, even when I'm coaching and doing stuff, I'm using stories about what's happened, what hasn't happened. And that is the best way to show that experience. That's also called, as you get older, people use this word a lot. It's called wisdom as well, right? And it's something that, you know what, not everybody has. There's a lot of people with experience, but there's not a lot of people who know how to portray that because they've always been that order taker and that doorman, right? So, I mean, having compassion for the objective and having passion for the objective is so very important. And how do you do that? You become and have to be the best listener in the world,
Mhm. It's a
right?
huge part of my Mind Over Markets course. We
Yes,
combine a couple skills. One is the art of an awkward silence. And then the art of the awkward silence leads you into finding the fear behind people's objections, because what they tell you is their problem is rarely actually the problem.
exactly. Talk about mind over markets. Talk about that course and stuff, and talk about what you do in that.
So I started changing my business, as we mentioned before at the beginning of the podcast. It was around 2017. It was actually after this morning where I got stood up. So I had been working on an agent in Reno for 2 years. He's a top producer. He's a really big deal. And he told me he could only make time for me at 8 a.m. But the problem was my husband's traveling for work. My nanny doesn't start till 8:30. Daycare doesn't open till 8. So that morning I had to get up at like 4 to nurse the baby, then shower, get myself fully ready, wake up the toddler, get him ready for school, feed him breakfast, nurse the baby again, high five my mom who came over for 30 minutes before she went to work to fill the gap before my nanny got there and daycare opened. And then I race to this breakfast and I sit down and I get a text from him, not going to make it this morning, catch you next time. And I'm like, next time? It took me 2 years to get to this time. And this morning took 10 years off my life. So I get in my car and I'm like, I got to change my business. And then I started building out this mind over market system. And the first 4 steps are just, out of desperation to do things differently, to have a value proposition that attracts people to want to work with you, to make it so that you build a community around yourself where you're not selling, you're providing value. And then all of a sudden this network starts to provide value amongst itself, but it all comes back to you. So I built the first 4 steps of mind over markets over the next 3 to 4 years doing that. And then I realized that there's something really psychological about all that, but also people fight about money in my office a lot. And so I'm giving a lot of therapy and I'm not really credentialed to do it. So I started my master's program in psychology. I'm going to school to be a marriage and family therapist, not to switch careers, but because that's what I do in my job all the time. I'm just not qualified to do it.
That's cool.
With that background, I built out the second half of the Mind Over Markets, where we really work on emotional intelligence and how you can connect with people, how you can improve your ability to have human connection so that you can unlock trust with people. And so that put the whole system together. And last year, yeah, it's been about a year and a half, I launched the course. It's a course you can take online, self-paced. Twice a year, we do it live with groups over 8 weeks on Zoom. And then I also offer it as one-on-one coaching. My favorite part about it in the one-on-one coaching is I help realtors and loan officers answer the question of why should I work with you over anyone else in 3 succinct sentences confidently. Like you got to be able to spit it out, say it, deliver it. You can go into the weeds after that and then come back and remind them those 3 succinct sentences why I should work with you. It's really fascinating. I've coached people who've been in the industry like 10 years. And when someone asks them that, they get uncomfortable and they stumble on their words. They go into this long, elaborate thing where eventually we get to the gist of why I should work with you. But it shouldn't be like that. You should be able to say it very, very succinctly and confidently. Why you over anyone else?
That is something I need. I need help. I think everybody needs help with that because if they ask people why are you in this business, no one's going to give you, an answer. What's your purpose? No one's going to really know the answer to that. Why should I work with you over, Joe Blow down the street? I mean, it's something that most people don't get because they don't understand themselves. I think would that be safe to say?
I think that a lot of times the questions that make us feel uncomfortable, that clients or referral partners or other people ask us that come up in our jobs more often than we want to admit, they make us feel uncomfortable, so we run away from them. And then they keep haunting us for years and years. Whereas if we just sit down one time and craft a thoughtful response to that question, or if it's a piece of education we're missing, if we just get it so that we can feel confident about it, it changes everything. It changes the game. I spent the first 5 years as a loan officer not really understanding how the market moved interest rates. And every time someone would ask me, I would feel sick in my stomach. Like I would just try to bullshit my way around it and be like, well, there's this, and then there's going to be the Fed's going to do this, and then the rates are going to do, and I would just, and then I'd be like, but here's the deal, don't worry about rates. Let's focus on the monthly payment. I've got strategies to. I'd try to pivot. And then one day I was like, fuck, I cannot do this anymore. I get asked this question too often to not be confident. And I deep dove. I spent a whole day Googling, watching podcasts, going back to my econ shit from college and figuring it out so that the next time someone asked me what determines interest rates, I could answer them properly and confidently. I think there's a lot of agents out there who feel uncomfortable about the contract. They've never sat down and read the whole thing forward, backwards, understood every bit of it. And they'll go 10, 20 years of their career, never fully understanding the contract. Just take the time, sit down and get the education you need to deliver the answer confidently. And if the question of why I should work with you, if you're watching this and you can't answer that succinctly, sit down, spend some time and figure it out. Because even if you don't get directly answered that question, ask that question, knowing the answer is going to change the way you carry yourself in those conversations where people are making that exact decision, why they should work with you.
I know people to this day that don't know the contract that have been in the business 20 years. I know people that don't read the contract and screw shit up. And they say, well, that's not my fault. I said, and I have one question for you. Did you read the contract? If they say yes, then they screwed up because they missed something. If they say no, they screwed up because they didn't read the contract. Right. And this is loan officers and real estate professionals. I'm not talking about the client.
No, right. There's a lot of people who have blind spots in their knowledge. And they're not bad people. They keep running away from it because that's our tendency as a human being, is to run away from the things that make us feel bad and uncomfortable. Lean into it instead and address it.
So running away from stuff, is that confidence? Is that knowledge? Is that not being prepared? What is it?
You gotta do all three, man. You gotta get the skills you need to be good. This market is not going to tolerate mediocre. So whatever you need to do, whatever additional education you need, whatever mastermind you need to join, you need to get confident that you are the best. If you are not the best, you're not going to make it. And then you got to practice it. And you have to take a little bit of time to be intentional. So before you walk into that listing presentation, you got to tell yourself why you deserve that listing, why you are the best person to handle it.
So is there a way to get those that don't practice to practice?
When I coach my clients and we come up with their response, for the next month, I make them say it to themselves in the mirror every morning and every night, because no one is going to give you a dirtier look than you're going to give yourself. And if you can't deliver the answer of why someone should work with you, if you can't convince yourself, then you're not going to convince anyone else. So I make them practice it over and over and over. And that's the deal, guys. If you can't bring yourself to practice the skills you need, then I don't think you care enough about this right now. And that's okay. You don't have to do this. There's a million other careers out there. But if you can't bring yourself to put in the work, then I think you should stop torturing yourself by staying, because it's not going to work for you.
And I want to put one other thing out there about the practice, about putting in the work. I mean, if you say, I don't have time, if you say I have this to do and I have that to do, I couldn't do it last night or whatever, that means you don't want to do it, which means to me that you don't really want to be in this business for the right reason. And the right reason for you could be it's your job. That's what you do. That's how you make money. But also the right reason, more importantly, is what we've said throughout this whole broadcast, is helping people. How do we make it easy for us to help them, right? Help me out here. I mean, here's that saying, right? Help me out here so I can help you. It's like I talk to agents all the time and say, and I say to them, help me out here. What's the reason? What's going on here?
Help me help you.
Help me to help you. And that's exactly what we're talking about. We could have just said that in the beginning and be done, right? It really could have, but it would never make a lot of sense to a lot of people because they won't get it. So I just want to recap on the three main things you've got to do. Got to understand, why are you doing it? Get outside sources of info, and damn it, show up, be intentional. Wake up, show up, and level up. I mean, do that business and go forward. And we also talked about mind over markets. And lastly, I want to just ask you about, you have a program called Future is Female. Talk to me about that, and how do people get involved with that? And talk to me about what it's all about.
So in doing my master's, there's this thing about marriage and family therapy that's unique. And it's that we believe everyone's problems are systemic. We believe that no one is suffering on an island alone. Any challenge that you're being met with is part of an intricate web that weaves out beyond you. So to help people, we have to zoom out. We have to look at their relationships. We have to look at their environment. We have to look at their history. We have to look at their past. If you look at what our society, especially coming out of the pandemic, women got hit in a really big way. They bore the brunt of childcare, of homeschooling. To make up what we've lost in our path towards gender equality in the workplace would take decades in what happened in just 2 years and how far we got set back. And then I'm thinking about all this. I'm in school for psychology. I'm watching family dynamics. I'm learning how so many problems in society are systemic. And I'm thinking, well, who says that women want to be climbing a corporate ladder in the first place? Then I think about my work as a loan officer. The most financially secure people are not relying on their 9 to 5. They've got multiple streams of income. I see this all the time. So why am I not teaching more people about it? And that's where the Future is Female came together, was those two concepts of, I really want to help women know that there's other ways to empower themselves. And I know I have all this experience. I've seen so many financially secure people and what they're doing to get there. So I created the Future is Female, which is a fundraising group. We raise money for a local charity, the Women and Children's Center of the Sierra. But at the same time, we educate women on the power of real estate investing. And maybe they don't get into investing real estate, but the light bulb turns on for them about passive income streams. That's still a huge win for me. But it's been a beautiful thing over the last 3 years. It's one of those places where, I've connected women and then they make other connections and then they start doing deals together. And then this investor who only does out of state properties is connecting with this one who only does in state, and they're teaching each other things. This lady who does laundromats and trailer parks is teaching this lady who only does commercial real estate, like how they can overlap their skills and grow their portfolios. It's been amazing. And we've raised a lot of money. And now the Future is Female is launching into other markets because I believe that a rising tide lifts all ships. So loan officers in other markets are reaching out to me and saying, hey, can I launch the Future is Female here? And I'm like, yeah, as long as you make it an event that's not where anyone comes to say, hey, look at me, let me brag, let me toot my own horn. And it's all about, here's a hand. Let me give you a hand up and show you. Let you learn from my mistakes. Come on my journey. Let's help each other both win. Do it. Do my event in your market. I partner with women. We just did one in Seattle. I work for All Western Mortgage. Movement Mortgage hosted this. We came together because it's for the benefit of women. And when women succeed, because I view this as systemic, I know that when women do better, their kids do better. Their families do better. Their neighborhood does better. Their community does better. Their city does better. So when we empower women, it's actually amazing for men and for children and for everyone else. So the Future is Female. It's my passion project. It's enabled me to keep showing up in markets where there wasn't anything nice to say because I have this community that's relying on me to put this event on twice a year. And it's empowering women to go do it. Whether they start investing in real estate, whether they host a Future is Female, or whether they become aware of a charity that's benefiting local women and children, it's all good. And it's all good that's being paid forward.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for going through that, because it's really important. If anybody wants to get in touch with Shivani, her Instagram is on the screen. Her email address and website are scrolling. Is all the information there,
Yep.
Shivani, for them? Great. Excellent. So, Shivani, I want to thank you so much for this impactful broadcast today. And while I think very highly of every week of what I do, there's something about every week that it impacts me as a human being and as a coach, as a realtor, as whatever I am, because it helps me to expand my brain a bit. So I have two things left for everybody, and everybody who's a fan of the show would know what the two things I have left. One is a question. How do I help you grow your business?
You keep doing the show, Dave. This is amazing.
Thank you so much. And lastly, you know what? I think you got one before. Don't know, but I know it wasn't this color. The hat. The hat's coming out to you. And just stay on for a minute as we finish up. Everybody, next week, we're going to Hawaii. Yep, not physically, but we're going to Hawaii. We have Dylan Nanaka, who is the agency team lead in Hawaii. He's Hawaii's #1 real estate team. He's going to be on with us. We're doing this, I believe, a little bit later. I'm not sure the exact time, but he's going to be on with us because from the Eastern time, it's 6 hours earlier and 3 hours early from you, Shivani. So we're going to have Dylan on. It's be the first time we're coming from Hawaii, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So number one, I want to thank you again, Shivani, for being on. Again, your information is there. Stay on for 1 minute as we finish. Everybody, thanks so much. We'll see you next week. Hit it, Nelson.
Hey!